afternoon, everyone. My name is LaCory Meadows. I'm a member of the CMC Board of Trustees, and I also serve as the Director of OSU Extension Franklin County. It's wonderful to see everyone here today. Today, we are pleased to present the first annual Joe and Carol Newcomb-Aludo Legacy Forum. Thanks to their generous donation, a fund has been established at the Columbus Foundation that will provide in perpetuity an annual CMC forum focused on topics of higher education. Won't you please help me thank and recognize Carol and Joe for this thoughtful and significant investment in CMC's future. Thank you so much, Carol. We are also indebted today to U.S. Bank and state auto insurance companies for their sponsorship and support of today's forum. Won't you please help me thank their many associates, friends, and attendants here today. Thank you so much. Lastly, I would like to welcome Steve Bennett, Regional President of U.S. Bank, to the stage to introduce our speakers. Steve?
Well, welcome everybody. It's a beautiful, beautiful day in Columbus, Ohio. But I'm sure it's bright and sunny in here. And I've had some time to spend with the doctor. He's a great individual. U.S. Bank and the Columbus Metropolitan Club both share many values and operating principles, including a commitment to hands-on involvement in the community. We both engage and embrace diversity, civil conversation, and ethics. That's why U.S. Bank and myself are proud to be a part of this great organization, the Columbus Metropolitan Club, and all they do in the community. All right, I was supposed to pause there. So, all right. So it is my true honor and a distinction to introduce an individual who doesn't really need introducing in the capital of the Buckeye Nation, a man that is a Renaissance man, is very talented in medicine, music, and above all, his compassion for people. I just learned that he went to college at 16 years old, so imagine where you were all at 16 years old. So I can't imagine a better leader for one of the world's best universities. Let's give a warm welcome for Dr. Michael Drake.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that very much, Steve. I thought you were going to say that I was so old that I actually had lived through the Renaissance that I was going to say no, I hadn't done that. And appreciate very much being invited here today. And to the sponsors, we appreciate your support, U.S. Bank and state auto insurance companies. Appreciate your support. And great to be back at this community forum and to celebrate its 40th year of convening these important conversations. And very nice also to be here at the inaugural Joe and Carol Newcomb-Aludo Legacy Forum. I appreciate your support. And I know Joe is away, but great to see you here today. And appreciate your support in so many ways for our university over so many years. So thank you for that. This forum reminds us of the importance of convening meaningful and thoughtful conversation for the benefit of us all. And that's really what our university does. We convene individuals, organizations, experts, bringing together broad passions and intellectual power to find solutions to important and challenging issues. Our partnership with the City of Columbus is among our most important. Working together, we enhance the lives of countless thousands of individuals here in Central Ohio and beyond. As many as you know, a good example of this is the collaboration between the city, the university, and industry partners to help Columbus win out over 77 other cities to be named the nation's smart city by the U.S. Department of Transportation. And I always want, when I say that, I want to have a round of applause for Columbus and being the smart city. It was a great competition to win. Ohio State is the primary research partner on the project to transform Central Ohio into the national leader in innovative, safe, reliable transportation. This is a success for everyone in Central Ohio and is reflective of the vital partnership between the city, the business community, and the state's flagship university. There are many things that attracted Brenda and me to Columbus and to the Ohio State University: the academic opportunity, the quality of the people, and the spirit of the community. But one of the biggest factors in our decision was that what happens at Ohio State matters. It matters to higher education, and it matters to the nation. We don't travel anywhere in the country where people don't know our university. Everyone we meet knows Ohio State. We don't say, we're from Ohio State, and they say, what, or where's that? It just doesn't happen. And it's wonderful to be a part of a university that has that level of connectivity, that level of outreach and impact. And Smart City is just one example of the kind of impact that we all are able to have across the country. Just a few weeks ago, in late August, Prince Albert II of Monaco visited Ohio State to learn about our sustainability research and our zero waste program at Ohio Stadium. Monaco is building a new stadium, and they have very little land, and they're very interested in making sure they do things in an economically successful but also an ecologically sensible way. And so they came to tour our programs and see what we were doing. We're really pleased that our programs have enough impact that they attract people not only from around the country but from around the world who want to see how to do things well and how to move our path forward. Our path forward as a university has significant implications on the future of our region and on our state. And so what is that path forward? Well, our aspiration is to significantly strengthen our position as a nationally competitive flagship university. To significantly strengthen our position as a nationally competitive flagship university. Why? Why is that important to you? What does it matter to us here in Ohio? Why is it worth our time and attention to work to strengthen our position as a significant flagship university? Well, my favorite answer to that question is a quote from 20th century higher education icon Clark Kerr. And he said, nearing his 100th birthday, something I think that resonates quite well. He said, "New knowledge makes the world go round, and the university is still its main source." And if we think of places around the world, places particularly in this country, but places around the world, if we think of and you could all do this, the most successful or the most entrepreneurial, the most innovative, the healthiest regions of our country, if you thought of those now, you would think of places that were centered around great universities, a characteristic feature of all of them. In ancient cities, cities and towns, ancient times, cities grew up around the confluence of great rivers or waterways. In the Middle Ages, cities tended to grow up around cathedrals, particularly in Europe. In the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century, cities were growing up around factories. But today, and throughout the 21st century, our great cities are going to be centered around universities, because it is the intellectual power of our people that will drive us forward. Columbus is a great city, and we want it to be even better. The ideas, the people, the innovations, the spirit attracted here by our university illuminate an important way forward for us all. So how do we do that? How do we engineer the next big leap in Ohio State's almost 150 years of growth and excellence? This is something that matters deeply to all of us and to the broader community. It matters to employees who hire our graduates and actually start businesses here and hire our graduates in those businesses right here in our own community. It matters to business, it matters to government, and to organizations that rely on our research to grow the economy and to grow a better society. And it matters to individuals and families who depend on the Wexner Medical Center to be an exemplar of best practices in medical care and scientific breakthroughs and in patient safety. Brenda and I saw this immediately when we arrived, and we see it every day. Ohio State changes countless lives on a daily basis. But our excellence requires investment. If we are in a position to do something great and we don't or we can't, progress doesn't happen. And if that progress is the next medical breakthrough or agricultural invention, and we aren't prepared to move forward, someone else will move forward, or worse, no one will move forward, and our problems will persist instead of being relegated to history. So we've arrived at an important moment, really an inflection point, a tipping point between A and A+, and it's our obligation to be the very best that we can be as we move forward. So to strengthen our position as a nationally competitive flagship institution, we need our most important partners to share our vision that an outstanding research university uplifts the entire community in which it resides. We need our university leaders to continue to maximize efficiencies and create resource generation to invest in our excellence. We need the philanthropic community to know how very crucial their giving is to improving lives, and we'll celebrate that tomorrow night. Looking forward to that. We need our legislative partners to view our collective mission as critical to the health and well-being of our state. The great news is that Ohio State is already well positioned for advancement on the national stage. One of the things that I'm able to do is hold leadership positions in several national higher education organizations. Actually on a conference call this morning with one of those organizations and on a call yesterday with another of them, where we were talking about issues that are most important to the country in higher education and most important to the country in being competitive. In fact, I said I was on calls with two of them. Actually, I forgot that I was on two calls this morning. So let me say what they are. One's the Association of American Universities. These are 62 research universities, and we're happy to serve on the board of that group. Another is the Association of Public and Land Grant Universities. This is now 275 public and land grant universities. We were on a call early this morning with the executive board of that group. And then also I've been serving first on the board and executive board and now on a series of ad hoc committees with the National Collegiate Athletic Association. And the NC2A focuses on sports, absolutely, but with 1,100 higher education members, it also has a voice in higher education broadly, and to be honest, in public policy and national policy as well, as you would have seen. And so we work actively as a part of all of these organizations to try to do what we can to advance the dialogue. But being a part of the leadership of all of those organizations is relatively unusual, and it gives our university a unique opportunity to help set the course of these conversations. We have an opportunity to be, to quote Lin-Manuel Miranda, in the room where it happens. And that should have produced a chuckle from a couple of people at least, but that's okay, it will as time rolls on. It'll be a good chuckle. But you know, it means something to be in the room where the discussions are taking place. You learn more and you hear more, but you also can contribute in ways that help things to move forward. So we're privileged as the Ohio State University to be a part of these discussions. And we're working on these issues with our national peers, working hard on our campuses as well to push forward our vision of the future, that our university is affordable, that it provides broad access to an ever more excellent education. By 2020, the university has pledged to identify, this is the Ohio State University now, we've pledged to identify $200 million in efficiency savings and another $200 million in new revenues to be able to lower the cost and improve the quality of an Ohio State education to our students. Of that $400 million, $100 million will go directly to our students, particularly our middle and lower income students. And in fact, we began this already with grants last year of $15 million to lower and middle income students. We expanded that to $20 million this year to help in need-based aid. The grants last year went to 12,000 students. This year the grants went to 15,700 students. And they will continue on, and this is doing what we can to help, particularly students for middle income and lower income families to be able to afford college. This has worked very well, but we know there's very much more to be done. There's a great opportunity, and for us a great obligation for higher education to do a better job of creating a pathway for brilliant students from the lower half of the income distribution to be educated at our nation's most competitive colleges. Intelligence is not reserved for those from the upper half of the income distribution, but many opportunities are. And we want to work hard to make sure that we broaden that opportunity. The future of our communities and of our country depends on our ability to provide significantly greater access to a high-quality education from people from all walks of life, from all zip codes, from all income brackets across our country. Tomorrow I mentioned that we'll celebrate the conclusion of our But for Ohio State campaign, which, due to the generosity of our alumni and countless friends, is already the largest campaign in our university's history. Actually, I'm going to pause for a round of applause there. And those many of you in the audience who are part of the campaign can feel the satisfaction of having been a part of it, and I want you to feel that that applause is really for you. For those few of you who haven't taken a chance, we're continuing to count through Friday, so you have you actually should join this. It's a good thing to be a winner. If you joined, actually, you'd be joining 750,000 others who've been donors to this campaign. And to the best of our ability to search such a thing, it's the largest higher education campaign. It's not the most money raised. It's near that, but not the most money raised. But it's the greatest number of people who've contributed to a college or university in the history of our country. And we're really pleased to be the place where that happened. And it should be here at The Ohio State University. So another round of applause for all of you who've helped to make that true. The support has enabled us to do many things that are terrific. It enabled us to increase student scholarships while driving excellence in faculty research and the academic enterprise. We're very pleased that our legislative partners were great supporters of us, particularly in the last biennial budget, where we had the largest increase in state's share of instruction, SSI, in a decade, along with additional funding for the Ohio College Opportunity Grant. So we're helping our low-income students while also investing in quality, and that's the right partnership for our state legislators. This enabled us, in fact, the investment by the state made it possible for us to then enact a comprehensive cost freeze. We've had tuition level now for 5 years, and we're able to hold room and board also level for the last 2 years. That's the first time that's happened in 40 years. And that was because we had a good partnership with our leaders from downtown who know the importance of the university and know that their investment in us allows us to do other things that help to support our students and our quality. So we're very, very pleased about that. Another significant way to make college more affordable is by improving overall student outcomes. We want to do what we can to improve student outcomes and make the path to a higher education once a student has arrived on our campus even more smooth. We're doing several things today to try to improve that path through our institution, and I'll list just a few. First, on August the 1st, we implemented a predictive analytics program at our Newark campus. This new tool will collect real data on student performance and collect that data in a way that we can use it to help guide students in the middle of courses toward greater success. By December, we expect that the overwhelming majority of our advisors will be using these new data to be able to advise our students much more effectively. Just a few weeks ago in August, we initiated the new Institute for Teaching and Learning. This is to advance the academic excellence for our students while increasing support for our faculty. We expect to create a unique national model for being able to give all of our faculty the access to the most modern and effective modern teaching methods, and we're very, very excited about this. We've held during the last year campus-wide forums on affordability and expanded our nation-leading programs in student financial literacy, and efforts are underway to provide greater access to general education and distance learning classes so that our student leaders are interested in supporting us in doing this, and we want to be able to also cut the cost of books and generally make the pathway through university more affordable and more smooth. Last fall, we were pleased to be recognized by Vice President Biden for our students' commitment to preventing sexual violence on campus, and a commitment that we made campus-wide with Buckeyes Act, a comprehensive program focused on action, counseling, and training. And this fall, we unveiled a unique one-day, one-week plan for psychological support. It states simply that if a student calls our support hotline, someone answers immediately, and that person then schedules an intake appointment on the phone for that student within a day. Actually, if you call, it's usually scheduled within a couple of hours. You're talking to someone. And then that person schedules an in-person appointment generally within a week. And in fact, now it's less than a week. And so the thing that we want people to hear and remember is that it's 1 day, 1 week. To be honest, I tried last week. I decided to test it and called myself. The phone was answered after the second ring. There were appointments available that afternoon to talk to a counselor and appointments available to see someone in person within the next week. And this is a more comprehensive and readily available program that exists at any university of our size and complexity, any place in the country. And we want it to be a new national standard. I'll cut that. These efforts focused on quality, on affordability, and on the overall student experience have led to record demand for an Ohio State application. The entering class this year came from nearly 50,000 applications. That was up nearly 10% from the year before, and it's up 69% from 5 years ago. Our newest first-year Buckeyes have record high ACT average of 29.1. 95% are from the top quarter of their high school class. Our first-year students come from all 88 Ohio counties. They come from 45 states and 18 countries. The number of minority students increased by a record 11% over last year, and about 1 in 5 of our students is the first in his or her family to attend college. We're ranked in the top 5 in the nation for improving graduation rates and narrowing the gap in achievement between minority and non-minority students. I'll applause on all those things. And as our students arrive on campus better prepared than they ever have been, we must continue to set the pace for excellence in a competitive global society. In addition to these and other programs aimed mainly at our undergraduate students and the undergraduate student experience, we are supporting our incredible faculty and their outstanding scholarship and groundbreaking research. Last year, we had an 8% increase in NIH funding for our faculty just in 1 year alone, which is really an incredible performance from our faculty. We're trying to put this new knowledge to work. One of the things that we've been focused on, and many of you have participated in with us, is focusing on solutions to food insecurity across all disciplinary fronts, and we're doing what we can to address hunger in our own communities and beyond, including programs at Ohio State and including a student food pantry, because even our own students find themselves food insecure from time to time. We're making incredible advancements in medicine. We opened a new brain and spine hospital and the Jamison Crane Sports Medicine Institute just this month of September. Our partnership with Battelle developed NeuroBridge technology that, for the first time in medical history, enabled a paralyzed man to regain movement just using his thoughts. So few institutions are doing so many things, and few are able to do them so well. But when Ohio State is at its best, when we do our best, it's meaningful to everyone. As we strengthen our position as a nationally competitive flagship university, our impact more closely approximates and approaches our optimum success. Our time is now. We're looking forward to working with partners in the city, in the state, and everywhere in Buckeye Nation to make a profound impact on our world and to change lives for the better. Thank you.
Dr. Drake, I have the distinct honor of being able to kind of delve into your leadership at The Ohio State University. My name is Kristyn Hartman. I work for 10 TV. My pleasure to be here today. And thank you. You talked about a lot of things. One of the things that struck me, Prince Albert recently visited. Did he know that your $6 billion budget is almost as much as his entire GDP?
I don't know that he knew that our campus population on a general day is roughly 3 times the population of his country. So their population is 37,000. He came on purpose.
Okay.
We have a partnership with Venturi Motors, a Monaco-based organizations interested in automotives and high performance, and the Buckeye Bullet, our world land speed record-setting electric car, has been sponsored. Yes. Has been sponsored by Venturi for several years, and so the Prince had some familiarity with Ohio State and our science. And then he learned about our sustainability and wanted to come and walk through the stadium, see how you have 108,000 people on a weekend and have zero waste. And he was very impressed. We had a wonderful time. And he actually, just a nice thing that I'll say, I'll try to be appropriate as I say it, but we had a little bit of private time. And he spoke very convincingly and authentically about his welcome here and how people had treated him, what a great place this seemed like, how comfortable he was here, just in a time when he didn't have to say it, just kind of in the hallway. And I think that we were really pleased to welcome him as well.
You talk about numbers at The Ohio State University. There are a lot of students. There are a lot of employees. How do you personalize the experience? How do you take that macro to the micro level?
No, it happens in innumerable ways. For our students who live in the dorms, they have a roommate or 2 or 3 or 4. Yeah. And
that was fun, right? We all remember that.
So you really had people who were almost like a family, and many of you I know have students who are our students, and at move-in I meet families and their students in the dorms, and it really is like people moving into a new home. And so that feels that way. Our dorms have RAs that kind of, again, pull that cluster together. We have 1,200 clubs. So there are clubs that have 2 and 3 students. There are clubs that have 200 and 300 students. And so there are a huge number of different organizations that one could join. Many of us, I am among them, teach seminars. So I teach a freshman seminar with about 15 students in it. And there are 2 instructors and a TA for 15 students. So we have a great student-faculty ratio. I'm a low-cost instructor to them. We're able to do that. But we have a great time. So there's small classes like that. And then there are the co-curricular opportunities that all of us have to meet people. So the individual professors become mentors, or people in the hallway or in a class become friends. And again, there are people here I know in the audience who've met a wife or a husband at our university or at some other university that we all attended. And so there are multiple ways for people to come together, and we celebrate those.
You talked about teaching a class. It's on civil rights and music, the music
Yes.
of the civil rights movement.
Yes.
How did you, because you're an ophthalmologist,
Yes.
so how did you segue to that?
Makes perfect sense to me. I don't know. I don't understand the question. So the class it has 3 components. It's the Supreme Court, civil rights, and the music of the civil rights era. And I taught the course the first time about 8-ish years ago, and it was really just the music of the civil rights era. And so it was a musicology course. And what I was thinking about was that art emanates from the personal, political, and social circumstances of the artist. Doesn't just come out of thin air. So if someone paints a picture or writes a book or a poem or writes a song, they do it for some reason, trying to communicate something. And so thinking that, I thought it'd be interesting to see how the country was thinking during the time of the civil rights era. And I was noticing that in my interaction with 18 and 19-year-old students, our freshmen mainly, that civil rights was something that was historical for them. It happened in the past, in fact, away in the past. But there was some of us who had lived through it, and so we had a visceral feel in addition to the historical renditions that we might read. And I wanted them to be connected to the human part of the times as well. And so I thought we'd use popular music to go from song to song and kind of work through what people were actually listening to. And we use it's the music of the era, not of the movement. So it starts in 1954, goes to 1968. We start with a good Ohio group. We start with the McGuire sisters. And we used Ed Sullivan as our delivery vehicle, so there was always a consistent delivery vehicle. So what was Ed Sullivan bringing to your living room on Sunday night, and to the American living room on Sunday night? And we looked at how that changed over those 14 years. We go from the McGuire sisters to Sly and the Family Stone. And what a change that was in 14 years, and we used that as a reflection of how the mores and the focus and the position of youth and the things we were considering and what popular music actually was conveying to people changed in those 14 years. And it's a great course. We then added the Supreme Court per se as a kind of an intellectual ladder, rungs of a ladder. And we began mainly with Brown versus Board of Education. And then so my co-teacher is always the dean of the law school. Mm-hmm. So it's a very legally focused thing, scaffolding-wise, but then the texture and the emotion come from the music. 2 quick things to say, if I may.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Quick things. One, we had a great privilege this year. We had time for a guest speaker, so we had Mary Wilson from the Supremes came and was the guest speaker for a day and talked about her life growing up, what music meant to her, who they were, how politics affected them. It was wonderful to hear her talk, and it was really touching and great to see her connection with the students. And then Brenda and I this weekend were privileged to be in Washington at the opening of the Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture, which everybody here should go to. And I think most people who can will. I think it's an incredible, really a moving, incredible place. So there's a program, and there were, I believe, 14 speakers during the program. So the program included the president and President Bush, who spoke, and others who were a part of the legislation, et cetera. So that was great. They had a few performers. Stevie Wonder performed, Oprah, who was the largest donor at $21 million, and Will Smith, where they were reading poetry, Robert De Niro, Angela Bassett reading poetry. So a great program. And I was saying to someone, I sat through lots of programs. This one was 2.5 hours, and I was actually disappointed when I realized it was going to be coming to an end. It was so, it was like a great book you're reading, you know, and you have 20 pages left. You say, oh my goodness. But I was going to, you mentioned the chorus, because I am focusing on your question. But the most meaningful song, it turns out, in the course, that we used 54 of them, and over the years I asked students, and the one which one matters to them, et cetera, the one that seems to capture things the most is a song called A Change Is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke. So I went through 5,000 songs to do this, and if that one particular one surrounding others tends to hold a lot of the message of the chorus. So it turned out that there was really, in addition to Stevie Wonder, there was one really great moment where Patti LaBelle came out and to sing a song, and the song that she sang was A Change Is Gonna Come, and it brought people in the audience to tears, and it shows the power that music has to be able to collect our spirit and our emotion and who we are, and then to preserve it and carry it forward in time.
You're a musician yourself.
I play at an instrument. I don't. I play at it. True.
Oh, I've heard you're really good.
Yeah, everyone says that. This is an awful thing. And then they say, "Oh, you weren't being modest. You were actually being candid." But I play at it. It's fun for me.
Oh, well, it's important to have hobbies, I think, when you're as busy as you are. And you also biked Pelotonia.
Yes.
Right? And what else do you do in your very rare spare time?
I do. So I do have a guitar that watches TV with me, and we have fun. And my favorite audience are either groups of our grandchildren. And my favorite thing is we have 2 granddaughters, and if I pull it up and play something, they actually begin to dance no matter what I do. It's the most wonderful thing. So that's great fun for me. And I've been a cyclist since I was 12. I was in bike clubs and all since I was 12. So I love that. So those things take time. We also travel, Brenda and I, and really enjoy that, and going to places and seeing things and being with people. So that's kind of something we look forward to. That's family and friends, but then also going to see art and culture and places is great fun. So
I've had the opportunity to interview the 2 of you, and what I observed is you really approach this as a team. You approach your leadership here as a team.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Oh, I'm a part of a team. Brenda's the boss, and I do what I'm told, and it works out most of the time.
You talk about 5,000 songs, having reviewed 5,000 songs.
Yes.
You have a passion for education. That shows it right there. When you have a parent who comes up to you and who says or asks you, what is the current status of higher education and where does OSU fit into that? What do you tell them?
Well, I get that asked in different ways by parents, particularly that happens when we're doing athletic recruitments, actually. The most pointed recruitments that I am involved in are when we have athletes coming, and my conversations are with the parents, most often mom, and what they're interested in is the quality of the educational experience for their son or daughter. They want to know graduation rates. They want to know support. They want to know how are we going to care for them. And so those are wonderful conversations to have, because we believe that our role is to try to educate the whole person and to help build the person academically and with research, but also with character and leadership. And so our university is set up to be able to be a pathway forward to the future for the young men and women who are going to be our leaders of tomorrow. So we want this to be a great place to be. When I talk to our students, I hear that our students love it. One of my favorites was I was asking one a year or so ago about how her experience was, and she said, "Wonderful, I love it." And I said, "Okay, nobody can hear us. Scale of 1 to 10, what's the number?" And she thought for a minute, and she said, 20. And I think that's, we hear that lots, and so we want this to be a great place to go to school. And we're pleased at the way our university is working in the world. Our position among higher education universities has never been stronger, and we see a real ascendancy. I mentioned the great increase in applications from around Ohio and actually from across the country and around the world. We had a faculty rewards and awards ceremony a year and a half ago where I was a little late getting home because we had 88 faculty who had been elected to national and international societies of scholarly import. This year it was a little later because we had 114 faculty elected. So we really see these things working well. I mentioned our NIH numbers going up dramatically. So we're going wonderfully. I mentioned also our fundraising and our philanthropic campaign. We reached our goal, which is tremendous, actually a bit over our goal. But to have 750,000 people say that they want to invest their money in us. And they're called gifts, but they're really investments, and we take that as a sign that we're going in the right direction.
You talk a little bit about leadership. You touched on leadership there. What's your leadership style? And I am going to pause. We're going to be taking questions in about 5 minutes, so be thinking about that. What is your leadership style?
Yeah, hard to know, you know, like, what do you like as a person, Kristyn?
Hey, thanks for putting me on the spot.
But I think first, something I really got, I mean, my father said something to me at one particular important moment that meant a lot to me. We were sitting side by side during my graduation from medical school, and you sat with one family member at that time who helped put the hood on. So my dad was a medical doctor, was sitting with me. And he was just trying to figure out what he was going to say to me, and he patted me on the shoulder and said, remember when you start your internship to listen to the nurses because they've been there longer than you and they know more than you do. And I thought, great. And I always paid attention to nurses and listened to them. And I guess I always tried to see who was on the ground doing the work and listen to them and tried to incorporate that and then to work as a team in trying to make things better.
And that channels all the way down to the lunches that you have with students. We were talking about that a little bit before this all got started. What would you consider, since taking the helm at OSU, what have been your biggest accomplishments? What have been your biggest challenges?
Well, I think that what's impressed me the most about our community is the connectivity of the people of Buckeye Nation. There's a glue there that's really unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. So we feel it in the office, we feel it in the shoe, we feel it when we go around the country, that people really are connected to the university. When I first heard the title of the campaign, it was "But for Ohio State," I thought, kind of awkward syntax and, you know, okay. But actually meeting people over these 2.5 years, I've met so many people, and the most important things in their lives are the way they finish that sentence. But for Ohio State, I wouldn't have my business. Or, but for Ohio State, I wouldn't have met my spouse. But for Ohio State, I wouldn't still be living. And so that connectivity, that power that we have has been the most inspiring. And I think that anything we can do to continue to bring energy to that is our goal. The biggest challenge is really that we are a very complex organization. And we hold ourselves to high standards. And
that's good. That's always good. Yeah.
So that's great. So it's just a challenge is to try to be better tomorrow and to look at all that we have and all that we could do and to get as close to bringing to reality our opportunities and to be a little better tomorrow.
All right. Dr. Drake, thank you. I might have one more question if we have time after our questions. We're going to open it up to questions from the audience.
Right.
It is CMC's tradition to take audience questions. So, for the people who step up to the mic, please state your name, ask your question, and we thank you in advance for not making long editorial comments. Let's proceed with the first question. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Bonnie James, and one of the most wonderful moments in my life was when I received the Career Achievement Award from the College of Education and Human Ecology from the Ohio State University, and a proud alumni. However,
I like the first part of your question. So we should go.
But for Ohio State. Anyway, I read some headlines from the Dispatch that all the alumni associations were now told that they have to sign an agreement that they will be in agreement on any stands that the Ohio State University takes, and they must not dissent. And I wanted to see if that was accurate because of an alumni, and you say that, I mean, so there would have been one more donating other than that. I wanted to see if that was an accurate statement from the Ohio State University. And one of the comments that was made in that column, that article that I saw online, was that you teach the students to be open-minded and think of new things, and the alumni shouldn't. So could you please say if the Dispatch was accurate with that? It was dismaying. I love hearing what you said today, but this was dismaying to me.
So I'll make you feel better. Okay?
Thank you.
So to make you feel better, of course that's not accurate. I mean, no. What the statement says, a very straightforward statement, and it said that in certain circumstances the clubs will use the logo or brand or something, or represent themselves as the Ohio State University in some way out in the world. And they have to be respectful of things that are in accordance with the university's values and principles. The First Amendment applies to anybody doing anything they want to say. I mean, this is in no way meant to do that. It meant that we have a brand, and you just have to be work in accordance with the brand. It's a reasonable, commonly used statement. So
you have to agree that John Walter should have been fired, for instance.
No, you don't. Let me say that's absolutely not true. Okay? But come back to the microphone, please. I'm going to finish this, okay?
Okay.
I just told you asked me a question. I told you the answer is no, 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 no. That's clear? So the answer is you have your opinions. They can be whatever they want. All we were saying is that in this, like every other organization, we have a logo that we send out across the country, and you have to be reasonably in accordance with the things that are the principles and practices of the institution. So whatever you feel, your opinions on anything are your opinions to have. We wouldn't want it to be any other way.
But the Alumni Association is supposed to have the university's opinions, correct?
I don't know. The Alumni Association has whatever opinions it has. We're one organization, and we agree with things that we agree with. But your opinions are your opinions, and you can have them any kind that you want. Okay?
Next question, please state your name.
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Drake. I'm Doris Calloway Moore, and thank you for your comments today. But my question is, as a person of color and a university president, how do you feel about race relations in the country today? I'm curious about your opinion and how you think that we can move to a greater understanding between the races.
Oh, easy question.
Yeah.
Easier than the last one. You know, a couple of things are interesting and true. So one is that we are all repetitively shocked and horrified by violence that we see in the world. And it happens in our neighborhoods across the country and around the world. And part of the modern world is that we have images of these things, that now that everyone carries a movie camera with them every place. They're images of things that we would read about before and maybe had a bit of a distance from, but now are placed right in front of us on a daily basis. And so it's shocking and horrible for all of us. And I think all of us are we all seek and wish and hope for solutions, but find ourselves at times at a loss as to figuring out how we can move forward. And we'll see things and say, gosh, we moved a step forward or 2 steps forward or 10 steps forward, and then we'll move a step or 2 or 3 back. And that's always, it's disappointing. I'd say by happenstance, having been at the museum this past weekend where we looked at 400 years of history, that the difference between the beginning of that 400 years of history and 100 years after that and 100 years after that and 100 years after that and 100 years after that, those differences are profound. The president mentioned actually in part of his comments that the changes that he'd seen in his lifetime, just in his lifetime, were profound and very meaningful. And so we see those changes, particularly if we look at them in relation to the historical record. We see there's much distance to be covered, and we need to continue to move forward. So always a challenge every day of my life. I remember 1955 when I started school in an entirely segregated school and watched things change during those times. And we see changes that are happening today and tomorrow, and it's really the continued work of the United States is to try to move forward.
Is there one more question? Come to the mic, please, and state your name.
I'm Kathy Fox. Thank you, President Drake, for being here with us. Now that you and your team have completed the Capitol campaign, I'm wondering what the top 3 things are on your to-do list.
So maybe a nap, and then ask me after I wake up. I think that so the Capitol campaign is a way to support part of our funding. But the quality of education and the quality of our research program, the way we support our faculty and our staff, the physical plant of the university, how we're developing as we move forward, all of those things continue apace. So we are continuing with the regular work. We will take part of a morning off, on Friday morning to breathe a bit. But really, the work of the university goes forward, and really the capital campaign, the endowment, the things that are raised by that money, that's the fuel. But the engine is the university, and we got to keep the engine turning to keep us moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. That will end the question round. I like to end things by kind of tying it up in a bow. Yes. And you're an educator at the highest level. What have you learned from your experience here at OSU?
Well, thanks. A couple things. The things I mentioned a little bit before. One is that the power and connectivity of Buckeye Nation is really incredible. And so that's something that's more than I had appreciated. I knew of the great influence of the university, but I didn't know about the feel of it from the inside out, and that's been tremendous. I also say we learned a lot about Columbus. We had feelings about Columbus, but hadn't really lived here. And what an incredible city it is. And Columbus, like the university, is a city that's on the move with a trajectory that you can see and feel. And beating out those other 6 finalists for to be the smart city, I think, was a great way of indicating that when compared with cities like Austin and Denver and Kansas City and Pittsburgh and Portland and San Francisco, that Columbus is really moving forward. And so that's been something that's been great to see and great to be a part of.
All right. Dr. Michael Drake, thank you
for
for sharing your thoughts and your time. So appreciate it.
I hope that each of you enjoyed today's forum. You can view and share today's forum and all of our forums on CTV Columbus Television, on WOSU and PBS affiliates statewide, through the Ohio channel, and anytime on CMC's website via YouTube. Please thank our sponsors, U.S. Bank and State Auto Insurance Companies. And our speakers, my president, Dr. Michael Drake, and Kristyn Hartman. And thanks to all of you for being here. We look forward to seeing you again at CMC soon. Have a great afternoon.